Welcome to episode 4 of my New York City Marathon training series. October. It's been a challenging month. I talked a lot about in the last episode about coming to Seattle, cooler temperatures, all that's been great. But I've had some other issues come up where I've not been able to put in the amount of volume, the amount of training that I had set in my plan to do. And that's making me feel a little bit behind the 8 ball right now, and that's not always the best feeling. That being said, not hitting your marks in a plan definitely, teaches you to adapt and overcome, and that's sort of been the story of this month. So this episode, we're going to get into a little bit more of the mental side of running. There'll be still a little shoe nerdery at the end of this video, because that's what I do. But for the most part, I'm going to talk through how I'm feeling now, 1 week out from New York City. As with all of these videos, let's start with going over the macro goals I set way back in episode 1. So the first one here is lengthening my stride. Now, like September, I didn't really do anything this month on this because it just sort of is. Back in August, I spent a lot of time working on this, and as I said in the last episode, I did see an improvement in lengthening my stride, and it's still there. My cadence is actually, where it should be, and my stride is consistently longer. So I think mission accomplished on this one a couple months ago, so all is good here. So nothing really to report new here. Second one is maintain foot health. So this one has been one of the issues I've been dealing with. Now, toenail trauma, blistering, all of that sort of stuff, no problems. I think the cooler temperatures, not super sweaty, humid running like I do in Taipei, Taiwan, that's definitely helped. So I've not had any of those issues. But the issue that I talked about in the last episode of the joint on my left big toe mysteriously being very sore and a little bit delicate at times has plagued me all month. As well as my hallux limitus, it's sort of reared its head again for me. And it's been a little frustrating because it definitely has limited the amount of running I can do on certain days. It's not been a deal breaker. I don't feel like there's an injury because if I do self-massage, the yoga toes, I spread my toes out, I do all my mobility exercises on my toe, it loosens up and it goes away. And within, a K or so into a run, it's generally okay. But it's still been a little frustrating. It's frustrating now to have to deal with it. And as I said, I don't think it's an injury. I just think it's maybe overuse, or maybe it's the shoes I'm wearing casually, because I have noticed that they rub on the joint themselves. I have a slight bunion, so they rub on that. But that's on the surface. This sort of soreness is a little bit more deeper in the joint. So this is something post New York City I'm going to, look at and, really start to address with, sort of a lot of issues that I've wanted to sort of approach with, increasing my toe mobility and toe strength and all that stuff. So I'll probably talk more about that post New York City, but for now, it's been an issue. It's been one of the things I've been struggling with, getting the amount of volume in that I need to get. Second one, or the third point, is maximize recovery. This has been the other issue I've been struggling with. Consistent sleep. Part of it is the bed here in this Airbnb, which is beautiful. It's way, way softer than I'm used to. And, after a couple weeks, my body's just like, nope. So it's been a little bit of a challenge to get consistent sleep. Some nights I've only gotten like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And then I end up sort of taking a nap on the couch until like 7 a.m. when I start to get going and make coffee and all that stuff. Not the ideal sort of recovery situation. It's also the temperature here, the much cooler temperatures. The past few nights, it's been around, 1 degree Celsius, which is about 34 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's really cold for me right now. So I've been struggling with just being warm at night. You turn the heat on and all that stuff. It's different. So sleep and recovery has been a bit of an issue. So a little bit of a struggle there. I would also say hydration has been a bit of an issue too, because this climate, and it's kind of funny because people think of Seattle as a very wet city, but it's not. Compared to Taipei, Seattle is a desert. So as dry as it is, my skin is suffering. I feel like I'm always thirsty. Some of this has to do with food, which is the next point, but that's also been a little bit of a struggle. But the sleep has been a big problem for me. So this one's a bit of a not the best. And then the fourth point, which is around fueling optimization, race fueling, and then just general nutrition. So race fueling, I think I'm good. I made a video on Martin. I've got that planned out. I've done a lot of tests in my longer runs. Everything's good there. General nutrition has been the other big issue. I've been dealing with a lot of stomach issues. And I think a lot of that is just the food here in the US versus the food that I'm used to not in the US, Asia, and in other parts of the world. It's been a bit of a struggle. As an American coming here, there's things that I miss that I haven't eaten in the past 3 years that I wanted to have, but I'm realizing everything is super oily, super processed, super salty, and that's really been hitting my stomach. So the combination of like just not feeling great, having some stomach issues, the toe issue, and lack of sleep has really been detrimental to the past month of training, of running. I just haven't gotten the volume in that I wanted to. And that leads us to the title of this episode, which is called Taper and Nerves, or Nerves and Taper. Now, I'm in my final week of taper, basically. I've done a 2-week taper here. I don't feel like I really needed it because I didn't get the volume that I really wanted to get in October, but I'm still honoring the taper. So as of the recording of this video, I'm 1 week from New York City. So next Sunday is the big day. So on that front, it's been, like I said, the issues I just talked about, it's been challenging to get the volume. I just haven't gotten the volume in. And that's made me feel a little unprepared for the race. At least the goal that I set, the time goal that I set. It's interesting when you set a plan and again, you can't hit that plan and you feel bad in 2 ways, that you didn't hit the plan and then you feel unprepared. On the first one, it's like, you got to realize that a plan is just that. It's a framework. It's not set in stone. It's better to sort of adapt and modify when you need to, as opposed to try to stick to it strictly and grind yourself into the ground, or at worst, get a true injury. And if I would have stuck to what I had actually mapped out, it probably wouldn't have ended well. I probably wouldn't be sitting here feeling overall, I'm feeling pretty positive. On the other side of it, this is the thing I'm struggling with now, is like I'm feeling a little bit unprepared for the race. I'm actually looking at my time goal and sort of stepping back saying, well, if 4:30 per km was my marathon pace, what does 4:40 or what does 4:50 look like as far as a time? And would I be happy with that? So 4:30 is still my goal pace, but I have set a B and a C goal of 4:40 and 4:50 pace, just as benchmarks to kind of be able to look down at my watch when I'm running and kind of know where I am and how far off I'm of one of those goals. The thing I will say about my running that I've done this month, though, is I feel like it's gone really well, the running I have done. I'm focused on quality over quantity. So the easy runs, the aerobic runs, or the marathon or faster than marathon pace runs that I've done in the long runs have all done and gone very well. And I will say that 4:30 per km feels quite comfortable to run in right now, especially in these cooler temperatures. And it's been very cool lately. I've been running in 1 to 2 degrees Celsius, which is again, low to mid 30s Fahrenheit. It feels extremely comfortable, which makes me realize that, you know what, maybe if I missed 2 or 3 weeks of higher volume here in October, maybe that's not a big deal, because maybe it wouldn't have done a lot. Because if I look at the past, say, 3 years of training, 2 or 3 weeks in that 3-year block, it's not going to matter. So on one side, I'm frustrated. I do feel a little bit behind. On the other side, I'm positive. Like I feel comfortable going into this if I pace myself well. So I think I'm going to go out a little slower, probably around 4:45 or so. And honestly, fighting through the crowds until you get some clarity on 4th Avenue. Anyway, I'm not going to be going super fast to begin with, so I'm going to have to make up time. So I want to negative split the race. I'm going to see how I feel at the halfway mark, see how that first half of the race feels. I'm going to run that somewhat easy, somewhat comfortable, and then see how much I have left to kind of pour on and go faster. And again, negative split for the end of the race. So that's my current strategy. The other side of this is, New York City itself. I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in upstate New York, but I lived in New York City for well over 25 years, longer than I actually lived in upstate New York. So I'm a New Yorker in every definition of a New Yorker. But I haven't been to New York in 3 years since I left. And the city that I left was a mess. I mean, I left at the end of 2020, actually the first couple weeks of 2021. So that wasn't the best side of New York City. And I'm a little hesitant to go back to New York City. It's the city I remember, the city that I reminisce about, the city that I love, the New Yorker I call myself, versus the city that's the reality of New York now. It's going to be interesting. So I'm leaving. My wife and I are leaving for New York City tomorrow. And it'll be interesting. It's going to be an interesting couple weeks there. Not necessarily looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the race, but I'm not really looking forward to New York City. And it's also going to be strange experiencing New York City as a tourist because it hasn't been since I was in college, maybe high school, since I experienced that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's interesting going back to the place you called home for so long, and it's not really home anymore. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. The other thing that I'm thinking about is I'm tapering, and I'm not the best at tapering. And this taper is a little bit different than I had originally planned. I am doing easy running like you would expect in a taper, but like for example, today I did a speed session where I went through the gears from marathon pace up to 5K pace. Only around 9K of running, like not a big session, but I went through all the gears and I really sort of made sure everything feels good, feels fluid, feels strong. And it did. And I'm using this as sort of my last hard workout before the race, which is again a week from today as of the recording. And overall, I feel strong. My running feels good. Everything feels good on that front. And going through the gears today really gave me the confidence to know that's okay. Even my toe felt okay today. So I'm leaving for New York City tomorrow morning. Monday, Tuesday of this coming week will be total rest days, off days, because they're travel days fundamentally, because I have a red-eye flight. It's a whole thing. And I'll be back to running on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll take Saturday off, and then Sunday is race day. So easy running in New York. I'll do sort of one session where I actually wear these in. This will be my race pair of Vaporflies. So these are brand new. Never even put them on my foot. I'll just do a quick like 5K in those just to get them situated to my foot. So that'll be probably the only fast session, and that's just going to be marathon pace or a little bit slower anyway. And other than that, it's just going to be a lot of easy running. So looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to actually running back in New York City, even though I have hesitations about being in New York City. I'm looking forward to running in New York City because I know those streets really well. And I don't know, I think given all the struggles I've had this month, I think it's all coming together and I feel surprisingly strong, though I am a little bit hesitant to say that I'm fully prepared for this race. So let's talk about shoes, because I know that's why a lot of you are here. So this month, I would say the real workhorse has been this, my Peg 40s. Again, as I said in the last episode, I only brought these two shoes with me to Seattle. So I was doing all of the running in these two shoes. And the Peg has impressed me significantly. Not that it needed to impress me any more than it already had. I trust the Peg. I know the Peg. I think the Peg 40 is outstanding. But this shoe has been just capable of everything that I put at it through every surface, exploring new routes, running around Seattle. It's just been the true workhorse, and I'm quite thankful for it. I'm going to do some more content around the Peg when I get back in Taiwan towards the end of November, maybe early December. I've got some ideas to kind of celebrate how much I love this shoe. So stay tuned if you're interested in that. I know this is a shoe that a lot of people don't think is sexy and it's not awesome, but to me, this is the most important shoe that I run in, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Another addition to the shoe rotation that has shown up here, finally in Seattle, is this, the Nike Vomero 17. Now, I just published my initial impressions video of this yesterday, so if you want to see my full thoughts on where I'm thinking this shoe fits in my rotation, go check that video out. I'll put a link in the description. But overall, I'm enjoying this shoe, though this isn't the type of shoe that I typically want to run in. It's a little bit too much foam. It's a little bit just too much shoe for what I generally like. I generally will pick this over pretty much anything, especially this. But this shoe has been nice. I have had a few longer sessions. 10 days ago, actually, now, I did my final long run. It was a 25K effort with 23K of it at marathon pace. And the next day, I really needed a recovery shoe. And that happened to be the first day I ran in the shoe. So my first run in the shoe was a true recovery shuffle. And I was thankful to have the shoe because it is super pillowy soft. So it's a good shoe. It's something that I will keep running in. Again, video for full first impressions is in the description, but there'll be more on this channel about this shoe soon. The real sort of outstanding shoe of this rotation, as much as I love the Peg 40, it's really been the Vaporfly 3. This is the second pair that I have. This is the one I brought to Seattle with me originally. I put over probably about 180 miles on this pair right now. The hyper pink pair that you've seen in the earlier episodes, that shoe's probably over 200 miles now. So I put a lot of miles into Vaporfly 3s this year, and I've just been endlessly impressed with the Vaporfly 3 for not only its Vaporflyness, but also the Vaporfly 3's versatility. And I've done things in this shoe that I never would have used the Next Percent 1 or 2 for. I've done a lot more easy running in this. I've done a lot more long running in this. It's not an easy running shoe, but this shoe does it well. So I'm actually going to make some more Vaporfly 3 content towards the end of November, early December to kind of celebrate this shoe because it's been so amazing for me. I know I've made a lot on this channel already, but this shoe really has been the star for me for this year. My race shoe will be this pair. As I kind of previewed it earlier in this video, this is brand new, never been worn, actually never even been on my foot. I'm going to break these in once I get to New York. Probably, like I said, probably do 5-6K on them just to get the foam molded around my foot. But yeah, fresh pair of Vaporfly 3s for race day. I mean, can it get any better than that? And even though I don't really talk about colorways on this channel very much, I have to say that this is probably one of my favorite Vaporflies of any Vaporflies that I've ever seen. We've never really gotten an all black Vaporfly of anyone. There was a black and gold Vaporfly Next Percent 2 last year, but it wasn't as good looking as this because it did have some pinstriping on it and it wasn't quite as clean as this one. And the gold was a little bit more shiny. This one's much more subtle. But I love the way this shoe looks. I love the way it looks in black. You can see I like everything in black anyway. So yeah, I'm excited to wear this and race in this. And like I said, there's going to be some more Vaporfly 3 content on this channel. So if you love the shoe, you're probably excited for that. If you don't like the shoe, well, you can tell me how wrong I am with how much I think this shoe is great. So that's it from Seattle. This is actually going to be the last video with the big blue painting in the background because, as I said, tomorrow morning we're leaving and we're heading to New York. So there'll be a totally new background for the final installment of this series, which will be post New York City. It'll be my thoughts on how the race went and overall kind of what I'm looking forward to next as far as racing. So stay tuned for that. If you've enjoyed this series, let me know in the comments, ask any questions. As always, I love the dialogue down there. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you like this type of content, even though this is a little different than I normally do on this channel, subscribe. You'll see more content from me pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.